dance for joy, your last part.
So welcome to Sensible Secondhand Classics, the show where we look at nostalgic cars that are over 15 years old that you could buy for between a budget of £1,000 and £5,000. This is a 1980 Triumph TR7 and well, it's apparently shaping things to come. The TR7 is yet another one of these sort of controversial British Leyland cars that came out in the mid-70s, specifically for the US market in 1975 and for the international market in 1976. In fact, those early cars for the American market actually only came with a 4-speed gearbox. This is a later car from 1980 with the 5-speed gearbox. You could also get an automatic version. I don't think I've seen an automatic TR7 actually. So for a sports car, it's not really what you want, is it? So to drive this car, it feels quite rapid actually. The engine sounds similar to the Dynamite 1850 that I drove on Sensible Secondhand Classics back in September. That's not really a surprise considering it's a derivation of that engine. Steering is actually really nice. It's a little bit on the heavy side, even at higher speeds it's on the heavy side, but it's actually very accurate. I'm actually surprised that it is. I've heard the steering in these is not that good, but maybe that's just you know, what other people sort of have found once they've driven. It's very funny driving around in such an iconic car here at the Great British Car Journey. We very kindly let me have a go in this and some other cars today. It sounds good. It sounds sporty actually, although the suspension feels a little bit all over the place. It's really weird. I don't think I'm quite going to be sort of cornering too well in this, and actually if you do some arm twirling around here in this car park, you've got to be really quick with the steering for it to not stall on you, which is amazing. Now, well, a lot of people say don't use push-pull steering, but in this particular car, in these sort of conditions, it's really the best thing to do. Not that I'm an expert on this sort of thing, you understand. So the other engine available for this car in sort of, you know, mass production was the 135 brake horsepower Rover V8, which went into the TR7 V8, but was like a limited production, I think mainly for rally homologation. And then the TR8 that came along towards, I think about 1979, which was supposed to be ready for the American market, but never really took off there either. So this engine actually only done 92 horsepower for the American market, which probably wasn't that much really in comparison with a lot of cars over there, but that's due to emissions regulations. Was any shape in the 1970s any more derided than the Triumph TR7? When this was launched in 1975, there were some very slick promotional adverts for the American market, which was initially the only market where they actually got these, with a little sort of triangle-shaped garage showing the car coming in. I won't put that in for copyright reasons, but you can look up the promotional material, I'm sure, on YouTube and see that. This is a 1980 car. I think this is a late Canley built car. There were 3 production locations for the TR7. First of all, from 75 to 78, I think, was built at a factory in Liverpool, in Speke. That was known for being an absolute industrial relations disaster. There's contemporary news footage from, I think, 77 about just how bad that was. Then it moved to Triumph's main plant in Canley and Coventry from 78 to 80. And then the Rover plant in Solihull from 1980 to 81, when the car was discontinued. The TR8s were made alongside these towards the sort of latter end of production, which had the Rover 3.5 litre V8. Also, I think a number of cars called the TR7 V8 were made before that. I think that was mainly for competition purposes and homologation. And then there were the TR7 Sprints, which was sort of, gosh, they were initially going to come into production, but I think a combination of being a little bit too close in terms of the power output to the V8 engine TR7s and TR8s, and also the closure of Speak, meant that only around 61 were made. The numbers are not quite known exactly. I think a maximum of 61 is what they say were made, but to sound very interesting, most of them that you see these days with the Sprints would be BR registered cars, so you see kind of Birmingham plates on those, things like that. Coventry plate on this one, but I don't think it was actually registered by British Leyland. I think it was owned by a private owner. I think it's the mileage shows 19,000 on the clock, but it might have been round, I don't know. In quite nice condition actually, this 2 litre, it says on there. It's actually very similar engine to Dolomite Sprint, but that has a 16 valve cylinder head, and this one just has an 8 valve, so it's about 105 horsepower, not 127. I think the convertible version of this, which came out in '79, does look a bit better than this hardtop, but one of the reasons why they brought the hardtop out first was because of American safety regulations, and they thought they were going to ban convertibles entirely for the US market. And the US market was very, very important to a manufacturer like British Leyland because it got a lot of good export currency for them at the time. But unfortunately, even the TR8, which came out, I think, around '79, which was primarily developed for the American market, that didn't do very well, and neither did even the standard one. So yeah, it was killed off probably before its time in 1981, with the last cars being assembled at Solihull. Raised lettering on a plate, which is always good to see. This is probably the original number plate for the car. Little Unipart thing at the bottom there. So on the Speak and Canley built cars, the boot lock is different from the Solihull ones, and I forget now what the difference is, but I think being on a V, so being early 80, this is probably a Canley built car. It's quite a practical boot actually for a car like this. It's not bad at all. I'd imagine that's probably about 250 litres. It could even be more than that. So we've got some fog lights on there. I think from 1981 you had to have fog lamps. Then that rear window as well. Yeah, it's a very sort of period design. I think Harris Mann had a hand in this. The chap who also designed the Princess. And we can see parts being rationalisation here with the good old Marina door handles. Yes, Marina door handles. Also seeing here we've got what look like Austin Allegro and Morris Marina indicator and wiper sockets. I think they were also using a Lamborghini Diablo for some reason. So in 1977 they updated the interior, and being a 1980 car we have the sort of tartan type, which I think looks really, really kind of 70s. It's amazing really. What's really funny about these cars is they've got a 5-speed gearbox, but I don't think they ever put the 5-speed gearbox, or even intended to put the 5-speed gearbox, into the Dolomite, which shares the same engine roughly as this does. Obviously the TR7 Sprints were the same in that respect. This only has an 8-valve cylinder head, so it's not quite the same, but there we go. Got a little sort of Webasto style roof we can open up, and we could be like Martin Shaw from the Professionals, who in the first season drove a 77 blue TR7, I think it was OOM534R. There's also one driven by Joanna Lumley in the New Avengers, which was filmed a little bit before the Professionals, using episodes like Hostage and Trapping, or 2 different cars used actually, 2 different number plates. That was a yellow one. I think it was a very early tartan interior car from what I remember. That choke looks very aftermarket to me for some reason. I don't know why it would be. Bonnet release is just there. Sort of moulded plastic dash, a kind of a, you know, very early one as well. We've got the recording equipment in here, so if you think my video is terrible, you can come here and drive this car yourself, and you can do better if you want. That's up to you. Got the glove box here, Ooh, that might fit me secret mission documents in. What I remember in the New Avengers in Canada, which was a sort of slightly failed attempt to extend the life of the series with some Canadian money, Gareth Hunt drove a red TR7 with a white stripe. So he's obviously using it for secret missions, as did Joanna Lumley with the yellow TR7. I'll have to go and find my mission documents. I think they're in one of the other cars actually. We'll have to go and get those out. But yes, it's amazing to be in one of these. The driving position's quite comfortable actually. It's very different from like a TR6. TR6 very much more kind of, I don't know, sort of hairy chest traditional British sports car. This is a much more sort of futuristic, and it looks very much like the kind of things that would come a little bit later. There's a bit of stowage behind here, depending on how tall you are. Seat belts actually go right back into here, which is interesting. Hazard switches up here. Fog lights, rear window. The lights are on here. Ooh, hello. Why have you only got one going up? It's a bit weird, isn't it, viewers? Hopefully when I start the car that won't be the case. A very interesting Harry Moss radio in here, sort of period for the car, and then that's probably the recirculation button for the heater. Right, let's take a look under the bonnet at the lovely Slant 4 engine, shall we? So here we have the Triumph Slant 4 engine, originally designed for Triumph and Saab in the late 60s. Saab got the engine first. Triumph used it first in 1971 in the Dolomite 1850, and then in 72 the Sprint came out, which is a 2-litre. This is also a 2-litre, but it's an 8-valve engine, not a 16-valve. I'd love to get my hands actually on a TR7 Sprint, because that has a 16-valve in it, but in this case generating about 105 horsepower. 0 to 60 around maybe 10 seconds or so, which we won't be testing today because it's very icy and this site has a 20-mile limit. So reasonably easy to work on as far as I can see. There's no cam belt in here. I think they sometimes can have timing chain failure, but you know, a car that's 43 years old, you know, it's obviously had some maintenance in its life. Twin carb setup on that side. And yeah, one of these front opening bonnets, which I don't know whether it just looks cool or if that was its design choice for more practical reasons, I don't know. Anyway viewers, I think it's time to go for another drive. Lloyd Vehicle Consulting stickers, t-shirts and mugs are available by clicking the link to the Google form in the video description below. The main issue, apart from the fact the engine is a bit weird and sort of sometimes likes lots of choke, sometimes doesn't, is actually the suspension. The car just feels a little bit on the loose side. It just doesn't feel as kind of pin sharp accurate and sort of sporty as I would imagine it. It just feels all a bit kind of loose. I don't feel like I can, you know, corner like Martin Shaw and professionals in this. I was expecting to feel like that, but unfortunately I don't. I don't know why particularly that is, but I'm very grateful to have driven this car anyway. Just spoken to Riley, who's assisting me today. He's one of the channel fans, and he helps out here about the rear suspension on these TR7s, and apparently it is a thing. Like some of them are like this; they're a bit funny at the back. Some of them are a bit better. This one's a bit loose, and you know, it makes it entertaining on a very cold day like today, that you might sort of slide out or something like that. Apparently they're not all like that, but I have heard that the handling's just not the best on these cars anyway. Maybe you can let me know in the comment section below what your experience of the TR7 is. So you buy one of these cars with a budget of between £1,000 and £5,000, a Sensible Secondhand Classic. I don't know, it's one of these cases that for me is sort of never meet your heroes. Ever since I first saw New Avengers in the 1990s, I've kind of wanted to have a go in one of these. I wouldn't say I'm disappointed exactly, it just kind of seems a little bit sort of underdeveloped somehow. You know, there's lots of very, very innovative features in here, like this, you know, moulded plastic dash, the 5-speed gearbox, and just the general shape of it. It's so kind of typical of its time, and yet it's just one of these cars that it's not quite there in terms of its development, and maybe they could have sorted it out a little bit more had they had a bit more money to do so. But this is where it continued almost sort of unchanged in this 4-cylinder version until the end of production in 1981. Although, yeah, I'm sure you could do things to make them better. I mean, maybe I need to try one that's been maybe slightly modified or something like that, and there are ones out there that are. But thank you ever so much indeed once again for watching. Thank you to the Great British Car Journey for letting me have a go in this car today. You can come here and see the wonderful museum, and you can have a go in this car or a selection of about 37 others. And we shall see you again soon for more reasonably priced nostalgic motoring.